Nice, Dan. Come on. Nice.
If you're a climber and you drive into Milford Sound, you can't help but see the airport wall, and you just see this big, complex map of cliffs that runs up the side of Mt Sheerdown. There's parts of it that are amazing, like the Dreamliner buttress, where you can see there's this beautiful sweep of big, orange, steep granite. And you're just like, man, that would be cool. We first started looking over at the Dreamliner overhang when we were sitting in the Coral Club bivvy, which is about top of pitch 14 on the Mile High Club, and you're just sitting there in this beautiful bush bivvy next to a like immaculate granite cave, and we were like, when we're finished here, we're going over there.
But if you're doing it in the first ascent and you're carrying all this gear, and it can be pretty scary just to like start climbing without having an anchor up there you're aiming for. You don't know how hard it's going to be, you don't know what the protection's going to be like. There's a really big uncertainty, so that's I think where a lot of the adventure comes from.
I couldn't go to Yosemite, couldn't go climb on the granite in Chamonix, but I'd like to go climb steep, hard granite multi-pitch routes.
Wasn't really much like that in New Zealand, so he had the vision to go and just make his own, so that's pretty cool.
Granite, and you're looking up going, oh, definitely coming back to start climbing on that. Pitch 4 on the Dreamliner. Some nice overhanging face climbing.
Nah, it's a slab.
It's a slab. We must have done maybe, a dozen, 15 days of route development work.
And it's not about just getting to the top of it, getting to the top of the wall. It's about trying to develop a free climb that's a really hard free climb.
Here's Steve hanging in space, jumaring up what he called a slab yesterday. He seems remarkably in the air for such slabby terrain. As part of the New Zealand Alpine team, we do a training program for our new members, and James is one of those new members, and so was Ben Mangan. And we had the guys down for 10 days of big walling. First they went off and climbed the Mile High Club and learned, I guess, how to A-climb and how to get themselves up a big route alone. And then they came over to join myself and Steve Fortune on the Dreamliner and help us push the route a bit higher up the cliff.
Just arrived to camp for the night. Here's James jogging up. Our last haul, bring the portaledges up. What's happening, James?
Just trying to get my bed together.
Having a few troubles with the portaledge?
Getting close.
Close, you reckon?
Upside down, back to front. I'm getting there.
Ben hanging off the skyhook, near the top of the overhang.
Damn it!
Well, I like that kind of climbing where you have to climb the moves. You can't just pull through and reach the next cam or the next bolt.
Thank goodness. So good to be just beating the sun. Just for that move. The next two pitches are fine in the sun.
Pitch 5 is, I think, one of the neat pitches of the route. It's steep, juggy, overhanging face climbing, but on gear. And you do some great dynamic moves. It finishes with a throw to a jug at the end of the pitch. And yeah, it's a spectacular pitch of trade climbing, really, like up high on the overhang.
It's super cool. It's some of the best rock on the route.
Nice, Dan.
All goes on trad gear and it's quite steep, just kind of plugging bomber cams in it. And then, yeah, right at the end, another little spot that can spit you out. But if you take the whip from there, you just hit nothing but air. And I think that's what's great about Dreamliner. It's so steep that you kind of feel so safe.
Pitch 6 is a big rising grade 24 overhanging traverse. And that's a cool pitch. It's like lots of the pitches on Dreamliner, for some reason, the cruxes seem to be towards the end of the pitch. So you'll climb, get more pumped. And 2 meters from the anchor, you get the crux of the pitch and then you fall off. Pitch 7 is where the climb kind of starts to get properly hard, for me anyway. It's just this beautiful grade 26 thin finger crack where you're doing the crux on like a number 1 wire, really specific way you've got to put your fingers in the crack. It hurts when you stick your hand in there, you get a little bit cut.
That's it, you got it.
And it's like powerful, bouldery, yeah, just like fantastic climbing on this like just immaculate orange granite. And finally at the end of pitch 7, after like several hanging belays, there's an actual little ledge to stand on, and it's super nice because you can like sit down, give your hips a bit of a break.
Off play, James!
And you can sort of rest up for what's the 30-metre crux pitch of the Dreamliner climb.
Day 4 on the Dreamliner project. I think James summed it up pretty well when he said this is what happens when you don't send. And now we're stuck in the rain waiting for some good weather, and it's pretty grim.
I was wanting to leave the ground, having sent the pitches as we're moving up, and not go back to the ground until we'd finished sending all of the pitches of the climb. We're like climbing up progressively, ticking off the pitches as we go, and there's lots of falling, like lots of repeating the hard pitches. But eventually we get up to the sky couch on day 1, and we've sent everything up to pitch 8, but I haven't sent that hard pitch. And then it's kind of like, oh, what's the strategy we want to use? I was like, I'll send the 3 final pitches, which are a bit easier, kind of mid-20s, 24-ish kind of climbing. So we did that, but day 2, just like too tired, didn't send it. So I tried a few times, got close, didn't send. So it's like, oh, well, we'll try again on day 3. By day 3, my fingers were actually just stuffed, like no skin, really sore. Tried that crux pitch a lot of times over those previous 2 days, and eventually after like, I don't know, attempt 8 or attempt 10, you're just like, it's not happening.
Damn it!
So I need to rest, and that just coincided with it started to rain as well. After a couple of hours we're wet, and we're watching the water hit the tarp, and like the eyelets on our plastic tarp are slowly like ripping out, and we're like, man, we are stuffed if the tarp breaks and the full waterfall just like slams into us. Eventually the rain stops, but it had really rained, and there's just things that were wet that had never been wet before. It basically took 2.5 days then to dry, and we just sat there waiting because like, so I don't want to go back to the ground and kind of ruin my self-imposed rules for the free ascent and have to start again. So I'm just going to wait.
There's just these wet streaks coming off the top of the wall that are stuffing it.
But eventually, like on day 6, where we're like been sitting there waiting, and we're kind of running out of food, and James is kind of getting sick of sitting there because it's like he's been patiently belaying and like waiting for me to hurry up and send this pitch.
Another day, another dollar.
Except no pay for James.
And also, like, my wife and my son were heading back to France to see her family there, and I kind of, like, you know, they were leaving in 2 days' time. I had to go home and say goodbye. So I was like running out of time. On the afternoon of day 6, the wall dried enough that pitch was dry. And so like at 3:30, you know, it's only got a couple hours of daylight left. If it's like 5 months of route development, constant trips to Milford, trying to get fitter, trying to get stronger, like refining the beta on every pitch leading up to that so that you've got the energy to work on that pitch when you get to it. And yeah, like really stoked to see that completed, and also to complete it with James, where we started the route together, we worked on the middle of it together, we did the first free ascent together, and he also came along after that when we tried to free it in a day, and ultimately didn't succeed in that. So that's like a